All right, everyone. Welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. Today we're talking about Chucky, a killer that, as many of you know, I talk about a lot. We're going to be doing a map tier list as part of the guide because maps are probably the thing I talk about the least in this game in general. Ironically, considering they're probably the thing that's the worst in this game. I have my good friend Ghost Anonymous here. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Ghost Anonymous. I play a lot of Chucky. Have about almost 4,000 hours in the game at this point. Been playing since 2018. Was a Xeno main right before Chucky came out. Didn't think somebody would take me away from Xeno, but they put in my dream character, so here we are.
Links to Ghost stuff will be below, and I just wanted to bring on another fellow Chucky man. I know I did this for the tier list video as well, just to go over maps for Chucky because I think, as I alluded to earlier, maps are probably the most important thing in this game, in my opinion, apart from perks and specific things. But there are some maps for Chucky in particular that are way better and more guaranteed for you to win and play around. So I think it's nice to know which ones he's good on and which ones he's not. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first one is Coal Tower. So
Cool.
I don't like Coal Tower for Chucky. I think it's too big, and the middle loops, I feel he can't play around properly unless you scancel and get like a perfect hit.
Yeah, you were about to hit it. So I have well, as you know, I don't scamper and I have a very scancel heavy play style.
Mm-hmm.
So scancel wise, yeah, this map is great to hit good scancels, but competitively, like looking at it, yeah, the main building will really mess with you. The distance between tiles and all that it really hurts. It's pretty big. So I kind of agree with you. I don't think it's his worst map or anything like that,
I
but it's not given too much in his way unless you're scanceling.
Yeah, and on top of that, because of how this map is set up, it's very 3 gen heavy. So if
Yeah.
you happen to get thrown to the other side of the map and they break the 3 gen, you pretty much can't patrol it at all. Um,
Yeah.
and it's one of the few shacks where it actually has the holes in the windows.
I know.
So
Ugh.
it makes it very difficult for even Chucky to play Shack. It's not impossible. He's still one of the best Shack killers in the game, but the holes mess with him a lot if people
Yeah,
know
the
what they're
type of
doing.
shack you get on the map is a huge deal for Chucky.
Hmm.
So yeah.
But yeah, in the main building, even with the breakable walls down, he can't do too much on. There's a lot of windows in it, so that makes it very difficult. And then
Yeah.
a lot of it has a lot of filler pallets, which I've gone over before is probably one of Chucky's worst things. And a lot of TL walls, which are not the easiest thing for him to play either.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I don't. It's not terrible though because it does have a lot of line of sight blockers. That's something I'm probably going to mention with a lot of these maps. Because there's one in particular we're gonna massively disagree on. I feel. We've already talked about it before, but we'll get to it
Yeah,
when
I'm
we get
actually
to it.
really excited to talk about that one.
We'll get to it when we get to it. But line of sight blockers is a huge thing for Chucky, because obviously he's short, and not seeing him coming is a massive advantage to get the drop on people. And even in loops, it allows for the Chuck spot setups, a third person camera, being able to do the mind games properly, what have you. But shorter
Yeah.
shorter filler loops, he can't really do anything on. So he is a 110 killer. So um, I'd put Cole in B tier. It's like the
Yeah,
middle of the road.
yeah, I think that's the perfect place to start too, right in the middle, and then we can kind of base everything off that. So that's exactly where I'd put it.
Mm-hmm. Autohaven Wreckers Wretched Shop. So that is the one with the garage.
Yeah.
The garage barn looking thing. Most of the Autohaven ones, we'll get to them once we get to them, but I actually think Autohaven is one of his worst maps.
I have a really hard time with the collision on that map. I don't know what it is. That seems to be one of the worst maps for me hitting like invisible walls with Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is about this map, but that one always tends to like grind my gears. I have a lot of issues on that one with its collision.
It's
I
not
don't know what's
even
going on.
it's not even necessarily the collision for me. It's also because they're decently big, so he can't really do too much there. The main buildings are just run them down. There's really no mind games you can do with these main buildings. We'll get to one of the
Yeah.
auto havens later that I have tested it. The main building is it's not an infinite. You will eventually catch up, but it might as well be an infinite for him.
I think I know which one we're talking about.
But Wretched Shop, I feel it also doesn't have a lot of line of sight blockers. Um, and a lot of the loops are very medium sized and short, so he can't really mind game a lot of them. Uh,
Um,
so I honestly I'd put it in C. I don't think it's like the worst map. You can still win on it, but
yeah, it's slightly worse than Macmillan, but like not by a ton.
mhm.
It's I think C's good for it too. I'm kind of with you there.
So I think
Nothing too notable.
yeah, I think all the corn maps are next up, and I don't know if you want to individually do these, but
Um,
here's the thing
I mean,
with the corn maps. Here's the thing with the corn maps. Corn blindness is a thing.
oh my god, yes. Trying to get a slice and dice through a field of corn is the biggest gamble. Oh my gosh,
and
it's horrible.
and the map is really bright, which
Hmm.
and the corn doesn't really hide Chucky. For those who don't know, there's actually corn physics for some reason in this game that are actually good. So if you're a shorter character model, like a crouching survivor or a really short doll, the corn actually sways more. So
Yeah.
survivors can see you coming easier if they're paying attention.
Yeah.
On top of
Um.
that, a lot of these maps are the main buildings are not good for Chucky, with one exception, and that is the one on Fractured Cowshed. Uh,
Yeah.
Chucky can't play Caltree at all. I don't care how good you are. You're not playing. I had a match a few days ago on stream. I was running Blood Favor. I blood favored the palette at Caltree, and I still could not catch up to the person.
Interesting.
Well, because the window on Caltree, it's a 90-degree like turn in.
Yeah. Yeah. You turn real fast. That's why I usually try to chase them the other way because if you get them to go along the long wall, right?
Mhm.
Because it has like the little divot. If you have them go that way, you usually have enough time to scamper over the window and then get the dash in. But I mean, even that's really tight. And that's really your only option.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's not even counting if something else is connected to it, like Shack or something.
oh, I know. And that's not even mentioning that, like, and like Coldwind, for example, right? Like your shacks are in really bad corners, like out of the way, so you're not even getting use out of them a lot of times unless you want to go away from all the gens.
Hmm.
So it's just, yeah, the layouts aren't great for him. Most of the main buildings or main tiles aren't fantastic. Yeah, just there's a lot in his way on these core maps, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's not really like there's line of sight blockers, but a lot of them aren't that good. Even on like some of the filler loops with like the hay bales, you can try to hide behind them, but there's actually gaps in them, so if they're looking at you, they'll still see your footsteps.
Yep, yep.
Um, so I would put it probably above Autohaven. I'd probably put every single cold one map here. I don't think they're too different enough to.
I'm willing to put them all together. I think at the end of the day, like they've a lot of the same issues,
I
so separating them doesn't make much
I
sense.
would actually put Thompson in probably D. 'Cause,
Oh, because the house.
yeah, if they start running to the house,
Yeah,
there's not much you can do.
you can mind game them if they're like. I mean, Chucky's funny because like you have two survivors, right? You have the ones that are patient
Hmm.
and the mind games don't work as well, and then you have the ones that freak out. And Thompson House is really fun for the ones that freak out. Um, but yeah, it's even then it's not great.
Well, you can't. So you can slice and dice from the second floor down. It is
Hmm.
possible to do it from an incline, but I don't. I haven't fully tested it completely, but it is really inconsistent if it will work because a lot of times it will cancel your slice and dice as you're dropping.
Yeah, it depends on when you start the slice and dice. If you start it too early, it'll cancel it out. You have to like, it's weird. It's
Yeah.
weird. I've been messing with it, trying to find the exact time you need. But
So
yeah.
yeah. So if they play it correctly and you mess up a lot on the top floor, it can be very frustrating to try to catch up to them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Next is Penny Asylum. So this is typically a bad killer map, and I actually think Father Campbell's Chapel is. I think that I will separate these two because I think Father Campbell's Chapel is actually D tier for him.
I yeah, the there's a lot of weird loops. I like that one just because of the scanceling. Like I have a lot of good scanceling options there.
Hmm.
So that for me, that one ends up being C. Because a lot of the problem loops aren't that big. It's not as bad as the Asylum. So I'd put that one in like a C. But I mean, that's like splitting hairs.
Yeah, I think my problem with Father Campbell's Chapel is it's the main building is so centralized. I mean, you can argue that for both of them, but I think the actually I'm confusing these two. I meant to put Disturbed Ward in D.
Okay. I
Yeah,
was like, Disturbed Ward, I think, is the way worse one.
yeah, but they're both like both the main buildings are centralized and both of the shacks are kind of out of the way. And because of how the gens are set up, Chucky can't really patrol a lot of them very effectively. It
Yeah, the patrolling is hard on that for sure.
it does have a lot of tall loops, not too many TL walls, but it does have a lot of what are they called? 4 lanes?
Is that yeah?
Yeah, 4 lanes, which Chucky can play, but not the best because you can't
Yeah, they're
really
not.
can't hide your red stain around the corner or anything on them most of the time. The survivor uses their camera, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then if you do dash down one, they just go down the other, and they're usually pretty safe.
Hmm.
So, yeah, they're not very fun loops for S Chuck.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you. I'd put Chapel at C. I think Chapel is the better version of the map, but it still has a lot of the same problems.
Well, yeah, you have the 1-4 lane usually. You have Shack in a corner. The main building's not nearly as bad.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just hard to navigate and manage all the different gens and the spots.
Uh, Haddonfield is next. So I haven't played New Haddonfield. I have been playing about a week since the new update. I haven't played on New Haddonfield once. Uh,
I've played it a few times. I played it like 4 times yesterday. I was doing some research for it. They opened so in the main house there was the window that was facing the road, and you'd hop in there, and then it was like a straight shot, like it'd go into like a dining room and then the kitchen,
mhm.
and they knocked out the wall, and that actually makes it harder because you used to be able to dash through the window as Chucky, and they really had limited options. So usually you could cut them off, but now they can kind of make it to the hole in the wall and get around your 90-degree angle pretty easily. The top part's a little bit better, but that bottom part's not nearly as easy to take advantage of now.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's kind of
go on. Go on.
it's not horrible, but you have so many levels. You got all these different houses. It's a little bit better than it was, but I don't think it's like a strong map for him. There's him being a 110 and trying to go up and down these houses, and keep going back and forth across the map is kind of hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, Deathslinger struggled on old and, from what I understand, even current Haddonfield because of all the windows in the main building for basically the
Hmm.
same reasons Chucky does, and he's ranged.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, so I mean, I guess I would put it probably bottom of B, I guess, because I don't think I know enough about the new Haddonfield to make a proper assessment of it.
Yeah, we need to do more testing. A lot of it comes down to that main building, but I don't the new buildings, like the houses and their new loops with the god windows gone, they seem a lot better, but I don't know if that's just because they're actually way easier to run or survivors haven't quite figured out how to like, use them yet.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem
So
with every new map.
yeah, so that one will take time.
Yeah. Hopefully the developers don't completely negate this entire tier list during the anniversary stream.
We'll
we're
see.
we're reworking all the maps. Fuck.
Oh
uh,
man.
Swamp.
Oh,
We're gonna do both of these because. All right. So here's the thing with Swamp. Chucky actually doesn't do too bad on Swamp. I very rarely lose on this map. I just hate playing it.
on one of the versions it's not bad. On the other, it like I have a worse time. Is it what's the one with the boat? It's the
That's Pale Rose. That's Pale
That's
Rose.
Pale Rose, yeah. Pale Rose, Pale Rose isn't bad, right? The one with the boat. I like that boat loop's not bad. You have like the little dock on the other side, usually kind of connected to it. That's not that bad.
Hmm.
The shack's on like the opposite corner, not that bad. Grim Pantry, that like basement area can be a pain in
Oh
the
my
ass.
god, yeah.
I hate that. And once they find like really good survivors, like you'll hit them once and they immediately go towards it, and or they'll pre-run as soon as you get near gens where they know,
Mhm.
and they just always want to go for that basement area, and I'm like, oh, it sucks.
Even
It sucks so
even
bad.
even the dock isn't that good for you because there's like 2 windows there and the pallet.
You have some mind games you can do there, and stuff. It's not as bad. Like I feel like whenever I'm at the dock, I can usually mess with them enough that I can get my hits in. But man, that basement area, the collision's rough. There's so many tight turns, and even if you make your tight turns, there's like because you're locked to 90 degrees. So if you make a 90-degree turn, but there's like a little nook that they
Mhm.
can kind of scamper into. Ironic, I use that term. Uh, you're just screwed in that basement area in the main loop. Just always sucks. It just always screws you over. It's horrible.
Yeah, and let me preface this by like I said earlier, this is why I'm probably going to put both of these probably high or bottom of B, honestly. Actually, I'll put Grim Pregnancy at top of C.
That works for me.
I don't like playing these maps, not because they're frustrating or bad or you can't win. I don't like playing these maps because Chucky can't see shit on these maps.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, right? I hear survivors all the time like, I can see shit, and I'm like, dude, same. We're both playing blinds.
Um, Xenomorph in runner mode has the same problem. It's just the grass is too tall.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
the map is too dark. Things kind of blend together.
I
Th-
don't mind it being dark, but with the grass, it makes it. It's just that extra little bit where I'm like, yeah, it is becoming difficult now.
I think it's a combination. Like I don't mind it being dark either. I think it's a combination because everything. It's not only is it dark, everything is like brown and dark green, so it like blends together when like you're looking at it. On top of how the camera is set up.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it's still what? It's the last map that hadn't gotten a rework yet, so
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense.
get a landscaper, please. It just cut the grass, man. That's all I gotta do. Uh,
Mm.
Groaning Storehouse. I mean, it has basically the same problem as Cold Tower does. If anything, the main building on this one's worse.
Yeah, I was gonna say this main building can be a little bit worse depending on how they run it. If they're smart. I'd say this one, yeah, it's very obviously very similar to Cold Tower. I'd put it under Cold Tower, or honestly, I might even put it under Haddonfield. The main building I think gives me more problems than the Haddonfield main
So,
building does.
I've done this. I'm sure you've seen it, but I've done the testing on how Chucky's footfalls work, where you can see his footprints. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
I have done testing on Macmillan in specific. If they are looking through the window, even if they can't see you, quote unquote, they will still see the footfalls because you are still technically eye level with them.
yeah. It's really annoying. I try to explain it. Like I explained it to chat last night. I just imagine Chucky's wearing a gigantic top hat that makes him as tall as the other killers, and if you'd see his top hat, you'll see the footfalls.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it's he's eye level with the survivors. That's how I've noticed
right.
it works. So it's not necessarily he's as tall as the other killer because the other killers are taller than the
Well, yeah,
survivors.
it's like that eye line, right?
Yeah,
Just yeah,
that's why if their camera points slightly down, they actually won't see the footsteps.
yeah,
It's a very weird thing. They coded it ironically very well, and as a result, I think it makes it really janky.
yeah. Funny how that works, huh?
Um, it's weird because like I've talked about this before with the footfalls. It's like I said, it's just eye level. But if you're not like specific in that exact location of his eye where they would be, like level, it just doesn't work. It's just
It's spotty. I understand why survivors get really frustrated. Even explaining it, it doesn't mean it. Like it's really hard to.
well, people ask me like how do chuck spots work as well as they do, even against good survivors. The reason why is because they're looking behind them,
Oh yeah,
and I'm in
yeah,
front of
yep.
them. If they were looking ahead of them, they would see me.
Yeah. How many times are you waiting at like one end of shack and they're like running at you with their head behind them,
Hmm.
like looking back, and then you just blindside them. That's like 9 times out of 10 how you get them there.
Yeah, if they were looking ahead, they don't even have to necessarily see me. If the camera works correctly, they'll see my footsteps just standing there. But
Yeah, and I've told. I mean, I've heard you say it, and I say it all the time. If you don't see Chucky, just stop moving.
mhm.
You'll see him coming when he starts coming. But if you move without knowing where he's at, you're probably walking right into him.
Yeah, just hold a long wall and wait. That's really all you can do, and then run
Yeah,
perpendicular from the wall if you really need to go away.
yeah, exactly.
Larry's.
I'm actually curious what you say because I don't scamper. So this one for me is a nightmare. Even with scanceling, I had to do so many to get to where I like. It can be very fun, but oh my god, it's horrible.
D.
Absolutely
It is
horrible.
top of
Okay.
D for me. I hate this map with him. There's so many windows.
The stealth aspect here is really fun, but man,
But
like your slice and dice is just horrible.
even the stealth aspect, it depends on the setup of the map.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Which well, there's another map on here we'll get into that's very similar, but it's a little bit different because because okay, let's take the main building or the main room for example. If basement is in that main room, that window is a godsend. It's really easy for you to play. If that
Oh
basement
yeah.
isn't there, that entire room is a nightmare because it's a window into a pallet into another window.
Yeah, that setup sucks. Or you get the god setup and they give you the double basements.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I think they patched that out. But yeah, no, that one basement makes a huge difference.
he
It's
the map
wild.
is deceptively big too. Um
Oh yeah.
and he can't really like get around it very easily. Like and
Well,
Larry's is one of those maps that I feel is probably the most RNG dependent map because depending on where the doors spawn determines how good a loop is.
yeah,
Because
that's fair.
there's a lot of the loops on the corners where the pallets drop. If the doors are open, it's easy. You can mind game it very easily. It's not a safe pallet, and Chucky can easily just like double back one time and hit you. If the doors
R-
aren't there, there's almost nothing you can do.
Right. Well, even the hallways work that way, right? If you have a
Mhm.
hallway and the door is closed on that hallway, like it's just a straight shot and Chucky's gonna slice and dice you. If there's a doorway, you just sneak in and go anywhere and like they just had to chase at you at 110 and
Mhm.
it's not fun. So yeah, the door spawn rate is a big deal.
I'll actually probably put it in low C because he can do things on this map that other killers can't. Because there's not a bunch of them, but there's enough god pallets. I would say that he gets an advantage on it a little bit because of scampering.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because there's that one in the hallway, there's that one in the library. Uh, but even the
Oh yeah,
one
trust me. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say, even the one in the library, it depends on which side you're on. If you're on this, if Chucky's on the side with the window, he wins that. If he's not, and the survivor is, they win it.
Yeah, this is one of two maps that makes me always want to break my self-imposed limitation of not scampering. It's one of two, and every time I'm sitting there and I'm like, "Oh, you," because a survivor will drop a god pallet teabag you, and you're like, I could. It's one button. I'd get you." Yes, this one
Ugh.
hurts my soul sometimes.
Red Forest Mother's Dwelling.
Oh, I'm very curious. I think this one's A for me. It shouldn't be, but this is a scancel like heaven send map. It's so
I
good.
I think it's top of B for me. Um, a lot of the loops are fine. There's a lot of line of sight blockers. The map is decently easy to sneak up on. The main building isn't that bad. Uh, there's not too many filler loops. The biggest problem I have with it, honestly, is the hills.
The hills can hurt for sure. That's honestly the only complaint I'd have is the hills because the house you can do like a really interesting jump in one of the breaks in the wall, like where the fireplace is. There's a hole on the upper level, and you can dash through back onto the staircase and catch them on either side.
Hmm.
So the main building is like really useful. Usually behind every pallet, like good pallet, there's like some weird window against the wall for you to scancel back towards them.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Yeah, this is one of my favorites.
There,
I don't think it's his best, but it's one of my favorites.
there's also like at the on the main building on the railing side, there's that vault down. You can
Yeah.
if you activate Hidey Ho as you're going up the stairs, you can 9 times out of 10 hit them before they hit the vault.
Well, yeah, even then you can fake it. You can
Hmm.
fake your dash. They'll vault it, you drop down, and then you dash anyways once you hit the ground, and you usually catch them at that point anyways.
Yeah, and like I
So
said,
that vault's a lose-lose.
yeah, and like I said, there's not a lot of filler loops on this map. There's not a lot of even the shack. Like it's out of the way, but not so much out of the way that it's a detriment to go do.
Yeah.
But a lot of tall loops, a lot of even the god palettes that are on the quote unquote god palettes that are on this map. They're not really god palettes, but the ones that are like the perimeter of the main building.
Yeah,
Um,
not to mention you have the rain, so there's a little bit more sound going on, which is nice.
yeah,
It's not a guarantee it's going to help you with your stealth and sneaking up, but it definitely doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and then a lot of the loops on this map, you can very easily. I don't have a name for it yet, but when you, it's not sliding, but it's when you fake going left and you go right with the slice and dice on like
Oh, the Chuck juke or whatever. We'll have to come up with a name.
Can we just add Chuck to everything? Is that what
Chuck this. He's the DVD version of Batman. He just puts Chuck in front of everything.
we got Chuck slide, Chuck spots.
He doesn't even call his knife a knife. It's a Chuck knife, even though it's a regular knife.
It's a Chuck knife.
Oh man.
So the other Red Forest Temple, I'd probably put it right under it. I think Temple is worse for him because a lot of the loops he can't really play too well.
Yeah, the loops can't do too well. The main building is not nearly as good for him, right? Like Mother's Dwelling, that house is like playtime. There you get the little bottom area where like even if you down him, it's just not always great.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so big, like there's never a moment you can't make it to that main building there.
Yeah. We'll get into this with another map also. Holding killers usually isn't that big of a deal most of the time because they can usually catch up pretty easily. Holding Chucky, especially on this map, he's not finding you again. He just doesn't give up. He's going somewhere else. I know that's a weird thing to bring up, but it does happen on this map in particular.
Yeah.
The other issue with this map is I don't know exactly which loop it is. It's not a TL wall, but it's a loop that only spawns on Temple. It has a long wall window, another window to the left of it, and a pallet. It's like a Z.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking
ZL
about.
long wall or something like that. Whatever it is, Chucky physically, I have tried every mind game method, cannot play that loop, even with the pallet down. You just have to either brute force it or just leave. It usually spawns in the corner of this map, and it is the most frustrating loop in the game. The second most. We'll get into the most frustrating loop. I don't know if you know.
I'm curious which your most frustrating is. I'm very curious.
It's on a map I actually like. Let me just say that. Badham, D tier.
Can we make an F tier just for that one? Can we make a Badham tier? Because oh my god, I'm kidding. You don't have to. I'm just teasing. But oh my god, every version of Badham, not fun.
Chucky can't play the school. Chucky can't play House of Pain. Chucky can't play the other building that spawns. The line of sight blockers are nice, but they're not good enough for him to usually get the drop. He can't play the outside of the school, the one where people take the fence loop and like go all the way around.
Yeah, you can almost do it. Like if you have the screwdriver or the drill, you can usually get over the window vault. Like if they're going not towards the entrance, but like out of the entrance, then they do the window. Usually there's enough distance, and they'll barely maybe make it to the car loop. But usually you can cut them off right before they get to that pallet. But it's so tight.
Yeah.
And it's usually your best bet on the outside of the school, and even then it's like eh.
A lot of filler loops he can't do anything on. The car loops are almost, you have to precisely fake onto the car loops. That's really, and get the best slides you can without getting caught on like the mirror or something.
Yeah.
It's the fences. Chucky physically can't do anything about the fences.
Well, yeah, because they're not long enough for you to like get them stuck on that straight path long enough to get your dash. They can turn around and do a full 180-degree turn on the other side, and so you're just kind of shit out of luck.
Yeah, and a lot of line and side blockers are there, but ironically, if you're coming from too far away, they'll see you coming anyways because of how the camera works.
Yeah.
So I think Badham is one of. I mean, this isn't news to anybody. It's like a lot of killers' worst maps, but Badham realms are just really, really bad.
Is there? I'm trying to think if there's a killer that really likes Badham. I can't think of one that like would do well there.
That would do well on Badham? Hag?
I guess I could see Hag doing okay. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. That's another discussion, I guess.
Hag and Nurse, but I mean it's Nurse.
Yeah. Is there a bad map for Nurse? I guess there probably is.
So I've already recorded the Nurse podcast for those listening. Little teaser for that. We barely talked about Nurse. Reason being, we brought it up a bunch. What is there to talk about? It's Nurse.
That's fair. That's fair.
But as far as worst maps go, we were talking about it. She really doesn't have a bad map. Uh,
Yeah,
like her worst map is maybe Ormond, just because there's
it's
too.
big.
Yeah, that's about it.
Well, yeah, because she ignores maps. Like that's the whole power. You just ignore the map.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to get
No.
sidetracked.
You're good. You're good. Gideon's. So this is an interesting one.
I originally for the longest time hated this map. I have slowly grown to really like this one as Chucky. There's a few really painful loops on here.
Mm-hmm.
But even without scampering, man, there's some really crazy shit you can do. That's
So
really fun.
Gideon's is a weird one, not just for Chucky. If you look at the stats for Gideon's, it is technically speaking killer sided.
Mm.
Even though everyone, including myself, hates this map as a killer, it is a really killer sided map. Killers win on this map more than they lose.
This is one of my favorite maps in the entire game. And I know everybody always, all killer mains say they hate this one, but even on Xeno, on Knight, on everybody, I really like this map. I
Um,
don't know why. It just feels really good every time I play it.
but for Chucky in particular, while there are a lot of loops he can't really slice and dice to get the hits on, doesn't matter because Scamper exists. There's not a lot of filler loops because almost all of them are God loops, which he basic works really well against. Ironically, you can
Yep.
stealth gameplay, even things like the God hallway next to the bathroom. He is one of, I want to
I
say,
love, yeah.
3 killers who can play that loop. And he has like 4 ways to do it. You can chuck spot the corners and have them panic. You can just scamper under the pallets. You can slice and dice under the pallet, and as they're running away, you'll still be able to reset 2 times because of how long the
Yeah.
loop is, and probably hit them as they're running away.
Yeah, one of their best. Yeah, because like, what do you do if you scamper under? You're probably gonna get the hit. If you even slice and dice, you can make it. It's a 90-degree turn unless they go into the basement
Mhm.
and put themselves in that scenario. Yeah, it's a big lose there for them.
The only disadvantage Chucky really has on here is his speed makes it difficult to patrol both the top and bottom floor. But if you're playing correctly, you can mitigate that almost completely.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
even the tube, he can play if you time the slice and dice perfect.
yeah. No, he can do that. You got that one corner with like the pallet that every killer recognizes from getting holed by.
Mm-hmm.
In the corner, and he can dash over the gap, and he can even scancel the pallet
Mm-hmm.
back into the bottom. He can do so much on this map. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, but even then, it's like even let's say you're doing it normally and they just drop the pallet, scamper.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like yeah. I like this map a lot for him.
and once again, it has one thing that Chucky hates, which is, or it doesn't have one thing that Chucky hates. It has like 2 windows, 3 technically. There's the freezer window and then the one right under the pallet we just talked about.
Yeah. The only complaint I have is this is the second map that makes me wish I used Scamper because there's like those couple or 3 god pallets that I just had to brute force, and that's my only complaint, and that's a self-imposed one. But so this is like a really good map for him.
Yeah, and once I say this a lot about Chucky. He's kind of the anti-killer in the sense of a lot of things that most killers and I don't mean like, but that benefit a lot of killers, don't benefit Chucky, and things that don't benefit a lot of killers benefit Chucky. God palettes, like long loop God palettes, like the 2 in the God room on Gideon's, are a very good example of that.
Yeah.
Um,
He's like the opposite killer.
Yeah. And then like I've said I will die on this hill and keep saying this. Filler loops he can't do anything about. So and most killers really like filler loops. Um Speaking of filler loops, Yamaoka. This actually has nothing to do with filler loops. I just wanted to segue.
I like Yamamoka. It can be a pain. You got some bad loops. You got the 4 lanes that can sometimes spawn.
Mhm.
The main building is all right. It's not anything special.
So this is Sanctum of Wrath. So this is the one with the main building in the middle.
Right. Yeah. I don't think it's really all that bad. That main building, like
No, not at all.
it's easy. You can slice and dice over. You have that staircase that goes to the vault, and you can slice and dice over it
Mhm.
and catch them on the other side before they even fall. Um, Yeah, my only complaint is like you have the 4-lane loop that kind of sucks sometimes. And that's really my only big complaint that I can think of. The statues can kind of suck if you're trying to do a slice and dice through there, but at that point, that's kind of on you.
Yeah, I'd put it at the bottom of A just because it's a pretty standard map. Um, and the biggest problem it has is it's kind of big, but even then, like if you play it correctly, you can kind of cut it in half.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And that really should be what you're kind of doing. Like I never tell people to go for 3 gens, but also play smartly, you know?
yeah.
Like,
Once again, there's a map on here we'll get into where I kind of do that, and that's why I don't think it's as bad as people say it is.
yeah.
Um, Ormond. This is an interesting one.
Uh, the loop.
I
Oh, go on. You say your piece, and then I'll say if there's anything
So
extra, I guess.
I'm gonna put it above Swamp, and the only reason being is because a lot of the loops, even the filler ones, this is one of the ones where Chucky can slice and dice, like slide around the loops pretty decently well. Even though there
Yeah,
is a bunch of filler loops on this map, a lot of them are not as bad as the other ones, in my opinion. The main
yeah.
building isn't too bad, especially with the God Palette, since you're Chucky.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The two.
Even with not scampering, there's like things you can do about most of them.
Mhm.
It's fine. Yeah.
Ever since they cut out that the one like the what is it called, the rock wall in front of the building, you know what I'm talking about, the
Oh,
long one.
yeah,
E-
that stupid one.
yeah,
Yeah,
ever since they got rid of that, I actually think this map is really bearable for him. uh
yeah,
the only real problem I have with it is that Shack is way out of the way, and that one tiny like shed thing, there's not really much he can do with the wind if the doors are blocked.
yeah. I'm kind of on the same pace. I love this main building. I think Chucky's got so many things he can do with it. The loops are pretty easy to navigate. It's just huge, and that shack being in that corner sucks. It just if you don't manage your time and your macro play right, this map will tear you apart.
Plus, the main loops on this map, I think, are some of the best for Chuck spots. Um,
Yep, they really are.
because they all have like little random alcoves where you can just stare the red stain into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd put it top of C just because it's so big, and where the shack is, I think, just kind of knocks it down for him a lot.
No, I agree.
Hawkins, this is an interesting one because I know a lot of people don't like this map. I
I
really like this map.
I do too. I do too. I even like it as Xeno. But yeah, like you have the one room, the laboratory room, that kind of sucks sometimes because you can get into some bad situations.
Hmm.
But outside of that, like I don't really have too many issues on this map at all. Like
I think
the top level is fine. Most of the rooms are okay. You got like the double staircase into like the catwalk. That loop you can do so much with.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
unlike Larry's, and this is part of why we'll get into another map on here I'd like for the same reason. Hawkins does have some RNG with it where the doors and stuff can spawn similar to Larry's, but it's not as bad in my opinion. And Hawkins is a very static map. You can learn this map.
yeah, yeah. You're not dealing with a lot of randomness. I mean, yeah, I like this map. It's solid. The only time I ever seem to have issues is that laboratory room, and that's really it.
Yeah, I'd put it
It's
bottom of A because it still does have some problems for him. There's a lot of windows, and the
your
laboratory
doors
room.
can hurt sometimes there, depending on like the distance. Trying to get back and forth if you don't have like the right spawn of pallets and stuff,
Hmm.
that can be a little weak. But that's like a very minor complaint.
Yeah, and a lot of the I don't know exactly what to call them. The ones where like the stairs go up into the metal grating and there's like a vault straight down.
Yeah.
He can, if you do the slice and dice well enough, you can almost always hit those. I don't always
Yeah,
hit them, but you can.
y- yeah. That's why I said this. I like the maps a lot with really unique uh loops. I think it was Scott Jund or somebody who said they wanted the maps to just contain more standard loops,
Hmm.
and I'm like that sounds horrible. Then they're all the same. It's just more coal towers all over the place. I really love Hawkins. It's got so many different loops that you have to think about differently than any other map,
Hmm.
and Chucky handles most of them really well. He's just got options all around.
Yeah. Ironwork of Misery. I'd probably put it right above Ormond. honestly. The
Yeah.
the main building is so bad for him. There's not as many line of sight blockers. The size can get in your way. The shack is usually out of the way. It's just they,
It's got a lot of the same issues. Yeah.
but I think it's the worst of all the Macmillan maps for him.
I'd agree with that.
Um, because especially if they go to the main building and they go up the outside of it where the stairs like lead up, the metal stairs, even if they drop, you're usually not catching up to them in time. And
Yeah.
if they go through the window, then good luck. There's a lot of weight. Like you can try to slice and dice them the moment you get through the window, but they can just drop.
Yeah.
And there's just you just wasted your time, and now you have to get through the animation and then go down and chase them and hope the scratch marks don't get messed up and they don't just go back up the stairs.
Yeah. Nope. I agree with you.
um, that's the thing with a lot of these maps. You'll notice for anyone listening is that the main buildings are usually the determining factor for Chucky in a lot of these.
That and then like your ability to like slice and dice slide off certain loops, right? Like if
Mhm,
there's like the side loops, like fuck, what's a good example? There's just some where like the way the collision works, you're just not going to be able to slide around them. You're going to hit something random.
mhm.
And then there's other ones where it's just a clean slide, and I think that's the second determining factor,
Yeah,
along
well,
with the shack.
yeah, we'll get into an. They're coming up soon, but we'll get into a couple of maps that probably people think is really good for him, but are not. Dead Dog. So
I'm curious what you think.
this is usually considered a killer sided map. Um, I think it's mid for him. I think it's like right in the middle.
I think this is gonna be the first one. I think this is one of his S tier ones.
Are you really?
I do. Okay, so this one, and this is my play style, right? So I play differently. I just last night hit my first quintuple scancel hit into this one. Easy. You got the main building, right? There's not much they can do on the main building. If they go on the like out the upper window, not the one with the gen, but on the other side, like behind the bar,
Hmm.
uh, that's a 90-degree lock pretty much. So you get them there. Even if they're by the gen, you can usually catch them whatever options they do. If they go down, if they go, I mean, if we're looking at the photo, if they go around the left side, you dash. If they go down, you just hop down with them. You get that dash in. The main building is like I never feel like there's anything they can do. Um, then pretty much the shack is pretty all right. It's got that hole in the floor on one side and some other of that. That's really annoying. So the shack's not the greatest. And this is the one killer where I actually don't usually break the wall all the time on the shack.
I think
Um,
I think my problem with Dead Dog, and I'll shoot it up just because of what you said, but my biggest problem with Dead Dog is the town area.
the town area sucks. That's the only weak point. But the one upside to that is there's usually one, maybe two at the most gens. And I will almost always let those gens go first. I will purposely leave those ones alone.
It's
Because you're right, Chucky can't do jack shit there.
Yeah, and then it's also the loop in front of the main building, and then the loop like right beside that loop. You can't
Yeah.
really do even if you scamper. A lot of times it's not long enough to where you can slice and dice hit right after the scamper to get it, and it's also not short enough to where you can just mind game it normally.
That's fair. I think where you put it is nice. You if you wanted to, I could even see you putting it below Yamamoka or something because the town area, I treat that as it doesn't exist. But the rest of the map, the other what do you want to call it, 75%,
Hmm.
maybe a little less, is so perfect for him.
I'm
Um,
gonna put it in S just because I feel like we're gonna get into a map here soon where we're both I'm gonna have the exact same thought process.
I
Um,
love that. I like that. I'm very
yeah.
excited.
Midwich. Okay, Midwich.
I
Here's the thing.
I
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with Midwich, right? I think this is
uh,
the opposite of Gideon's.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
I win on this map all the time. It is so easy to win on this map. It's extremely killer sided. It really is, even for Chucky. I just fucking hate playing it.
I think the problem is this has the worst collision on the loops. That's the one thing I fucking hate about it because the chairs, the desks, like they have the most wonky collision for some reason, and I can't seem to slide anything the way I want to.
Hmm.
Like every now and then I can, but it's so inconsistent that like doing a slice and dice only on this map can sometimes hurt. Just I don't know what is going on with the chairs and
Well,
the desks. It's just weird collision.
I think
Outside of that, it's not that bad.
I think for me, it's I've said this before. So you go into a classroom with a pallet. They drop the
Hmm.
pallet. There's the window right beside the pallet.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
have okay. Here's your options. You scamper, and they just go through the window or into the hallway. You slice
yeah,
and dice, and now they go into the hallway, and now you're a 110 killer running down a hallway.
yeah,
You scamper and they run into the hallway. You can try to slice and dice them, but there's actually enough room in those hallways for them to dodge, or they just go into another classroom. So you
yeah,
miss anyways. They go through the window, so now you have to scamper and then walk up to the window and scamper again and hope there's not another pallet in that room to start the process all over.
Actually, yeah, and you actually reminded me of one of the things I really hate is it is a two-story map, and while that's not normally like too bad with how small it is, the access points to go to the different levels are like very precise, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
one in like two of the hallways at the halfway points, and then you have the staircases. But being a 110 killer, if you need to get downstairs to stop a gen or like, do something, sometimes it's just like it just hurts. It just hurts trying to get back and forth.
Yeah,
It's
and the thing is, like I said, I see people winning on this map all the time, even with Chucky. It's not a bad map. I just don't like
no.
playing it.
I think it's a strong map for all killers just because what is it? It's room with tile or room
Mm-hmm.
with pallet, followed by room with pallet, followed by room with pallet.
Mm-hmm.
And just if you're playing well and you're pressuring gens, they're just gonna run out of resources and lose options.
Mm-hmm.
But the play experience just hurts. It just sucks. You
Yeah,
you can't you can't slide on anything because the collision sucks. The navigating the up and downstairs kind of painful. Yeah.
I
But I don't
think
think it's bad.
I think this is the one map I think will make the exception where I honestly don't think it's bad, so I'm gonna put it in B. But I don't like playing it, so I'm gonna put it in B.
I know, I get you. I get you.
Like
I understand
I would
completely.
put it in like technically speaking, from a power standpoint, it's probably like middle of A. But it is so frustrating to play. You know what? I'll put it at the top of B. If I moved Yamaoka's on it. I'll put it
Yeah.
top of B just to be fair, because it's not a bad map for him at all. It's just really he is one of the only killers who can play that corner double pallet.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's true.
and the window with the breakable wall beside it. You know which one I'm
Mhm.
talking about by the exit
Oh,
gate.
yeah, yeah, I love
Yeah,
that one.
he is like the one of maybe three killers who can play that without breaking the wall.
Yeah.
Ironically,
You can do
ironically, Trapper's one of those. um,
uh, well, does Trapper still have the invisible traps on the stairs on this map? Because this is,
I think they've been patched out.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, like you said, I think it's really strong. It's a really good killer map, so even if we don't like it, like, it's still a good map for us.
Mm-hmm.
It just you can't do a lot of the things you wanna do, it feels like. It just I don't know. Not
It's
fun,
it's
not fun.
it's a very flowcharty map.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, very flowcharty. You're not really making smart decisions, right? I'm not really thinking outside the box on any of the loops. I'm like, oh, you do this, now I do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how we play this room, and then we go to the next one, maybe if you survived. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, RPD. So East and West, I always confuse them. West is the one with the helicopter, right?
Uh, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, you said that, and then all of a sudden my brain started firing
Yeah.
off.
So
Yeah.
RPD is the map I was talking about earlier, where I was like, this is one where I think people assume Chucky is really good on. Um, I'm curious what you have to say on this, but I hate this map with Chucky. I love it on every other killer. I hate it with him.
I don't. I like parts of this map is so bittersweet because this one's one of those ones like it depends on how it spawns. Um, So you got like that front courtyard. That space is so nice as Chucky. There's very little they can do against your
Hmm.
slice and dice there. But like if you yeah, that the area with like the helicopter, like it's not fun. Like there's very little you can do. You can slice and dice over the vault onto the staircase and usually catch them on it either way they go. But it's like I don't know. Even then, I don't feel like it's all that powerful. And even if you get the hit, then they run in and it's this whole other mess. Um,
This is also Chucky's one of the few killers I see people actually go into the bathroom area on that side of the map
yeah, that's true.
because they know you can just go like hidey ho down the stairs and catch them off, so they go to the bathroom so that mind gate doesn't
Yeah,
work.
yeah. I don't love it. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's like his worst map, but it's definitely not a fun one to deal with. I
Well,
think East is a little bit better, but I also don't really love it.
Well, the other problem with this is even with it being cut in half, the map is huge. There's not really many ways to go upstairs.
Hmm.
And then some of the loops, I don't know the exact name for this one. It's the one, so if you're looking at the main building, or the main area, like you see the stairs, on the right of that, the one with the two windows.
Hmm.
You know which room I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Even unless you can land a perfect scancel, you cannot do anything.
Yeah, and I'm trying to mention the cancels a little less as we go through these because I realize that's not something that everybody's going to be able to do or
Yeah.
do often. But yeah, scancel is really the saving grace of why I don't hate these maps because they're very good scanceling maps on the bottom level, like in the office. That's a great spot.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's got some pain points and
Yeah.
it is big. It's a lot to manage and it's like up and down and all around. You being 110, it's a lot to
Yeah.
deal with.
And then even like the main building room, the pallet that spawns on the front desk,
Hmm.
you can't slice and dice around it because of the fucking boxes in front of them.
Yeah, yeah, little stuff like that is such a huge deal on Chucky. Like I know every killer hates the little clutter, but I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like on Chucky, it's the absolute worst thing.
Yeah.
It's him and Wesker probably both suffer the same way, but it's so annoying.
If those boxes weren't there, you could play that loop just fine with slice and dice. It's the
Hmm.
same thing with
Yeah.
that room I just mentioned a second ago. If the filing cabinet wasn't there, like right beside the door,
Hmm.
you could play it just
You'd be
fine.
fine. There's so many loops like that where they would be just fine, and I'll play them on stream all the time, and I'll complain. I'm like, oh, this loop, and like if you just look at it, you're like, it doesn't make sense. But it's like one little piece of clutter will completely shut down a loop for Chucky sometimes, and it yeah, it breaks my heart.
Yeah, and then if you're the other loop I talk about, it's basically the opposite side of that first one. If you're looking at the main building, stairs are there. The left room, the one where the pallet spawns beside the desk, where there's like the vaults into,
Oh,
yeah,
with like the American flag and all that stuff and
yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah,
taxidermy.
yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
if you play that loop, the problem is the windows. If the survivor is like right beside the pallet, even if you scamper, they will see you coming fast enough that they can just keep running it for almost ever.
Yeah.
It's one of the few loops where Chucky has to break the pallet to play it.
Yeah.
Because the scamper isn't fast enough. Now, there are some advantages he has on this map. A lot of the god palettes, as mentioned before, he doesn't care about, especially the stairs one, um, which is
Oh yeah.
which is hilarious to me. Because I see he can't be flashlight blind at that one either, which is really funny when people try to do it.
Yeah.
Uh, but
I,
the stairs in general, if they see you coming fast enough, they can just keep looping the stairs.
yeah. Oh well, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a 90-degree angle, like, but it also like kind of goes inward a little bit, so
It's
they can dodge the slice and dices.
yeah. It's interesting for sure.
Um, I would put them probably middle of C for him, both of them.
That's fair to me. Yeah, I think that works.
Normally, like I don't know. Normally, like I said, I like RPD because it's a static map. That's the reason I love this map so much. So it leads to a lot of mind games that I can't do on other maps that I can do like almost every game with this map. But you can't do that really with Chucky because he's too slow.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what you say about this next one.
Garden?
Yeah.
D?
Really?
I hate this map. What do you mean, really?
I don't think it's that bad. Cause like what are the problem areas are the house, which I mean the god window it can hurt a little bit. But I mean you can get through the god palette with scamper, which I don't even use and I still don't mind it too much. I just brute force that palette.
Mm-hmm.
But the other problem that a lot of people complain about is the corner, right? With like the cars. That loop is so easy to mess with Chucky. They don't really have all that many options. Even the vault, usually you can work around if you loop them the right direction. I just don't think anything's particularly strong against him there. The gazebo can kind of suck because you can't slice and dice around it because it's got like a bush or something around it every time.
I,
So the little gazebo sucks.
I think my problem with this map is that it's not the map itself, it's how people play on it. Because what a lot of people do when I play on Garden of Joy is they just pre-drop, like, because there's a million pallets on this map.
Yeah, it definitely is the pre-drop problem. That's fair.
So
That
it forces me to have to scamper everything, and as much as I enjoy playing Chucky, I don't like being forced to just scamper all the time. I said
That's fair.
I've said it before. Like I try to do my best not to scamper, but if you're going to pre-drop every pallet, I don't really have a choice.
Well, yeah, yeah. At a certain point, the way a killer plays is just a reaction of how the survivors play, right?
I
Um,
guess I guess I'll put it above Coldwind. I guess right under RPG.
that's where I would. I think like Coldwind actively will hurt you as Chucky, but I don't think Garden of Joy actively hurts me. Like I like any of the loops don't really seem all that bad. I might be crazy. I might be crazy for that one. I
Don't
really
worry.
don't mind that map.
I'm about to be crazy here in a minute, so it's fine. Um,
I'm very excited this one too.
Borgo. Okay. Apart from not being able to see scratch marks, I kind of want to take that out of the equation, even though it's kind of part of the map. I think Borgo is like bottom of B for Chucky. Um,
I yeah, I'd put it like right around. Like I'd put it in B tier. I might move it to like middle of B at the best, because like there's not really any loops that are bad against you, and there's so many long wall loops, right? Like they have a lot of pallets, but so many are like those like barricades, and
r-
you just slice and dice right around them. There's like very little they can do, and if they even can do something, you just mind game going one way and you juke the other way, and you usually get the hit before they can vault back over.
mhm.
Shack isn't too bad. It's in the corner, which sucks. The main building is easy. If they're at the top, if they drop down, you drop down on the other side. You get your slice and dice in. You get them.
Mhm.
If they fake it, I mean, even if you can scancel, you can scancel. Even if you don't, you just dash towards them. So the main building really doesn't mean much. There's just I don't think there's any 4-lane loops.
No,
So
not
none of the
really.
loops themselves hurt, except for like that little there's like the little like merchant area that's on top of like a riser. That's the only part of the entire map where I'm like, okay, this thing sucks.
So, remember how I mentioned there was a loop that I think is Chucky's worst loop, and it's on a
Uh-huh.
specific map? It's on Borgo, actually.
Are you
There,
okay? So can I
it's
take a guess? Is it that one or is it the room? Like it's like a burned room and it's got a pallet right in the middle, like a diagonal pallet. I
mhm.
think it's one of those two.
It's that one with the window right next to it.
Yes,
Yes,
that one can
that
be
one.
annoying.
Chucky can't play it.
No, he can't play that at all. I brute force that one every time and I forget it exists right afterwards. That loop sucks. I
Yeah,
agree.
he can't play it. He can't, it's too long to slice and dice. You can't get the 90
Hmm.
degree angle. That
You can't scamper in
you
time.
can scamper, but they'll just take the window and you have to scamper again. And by that time they're at the pallet, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's short, so they can see you the whole time.
Yep, yep, yeah.
It like I legitimately think that is Chucky's worst loop in the entire game.
I think you're right. I mean, most loops usually I can either mind game something or even like if it's either a palette I can work, sorry, a loop I can work around or I can mind game it. That one I feel like I have zero options. There's like nothing. There's just nothing.
No, you just break the pallet and then hope they leave because even that window is decently strong on its own.
Well, yeah, because you can't slice and dice around it because it's cluttered and weirdly shaped.
Hmm.
So like it's the palette's not the problem. It's that window that's the problem. It's just
Yeah.
that one's annoying. But I mean that's one palette, and then that really awkward area, which is also not like amazing for survivors either.
Mhm.
So I actually I like Borgo's layout. The color sucks. But I mean it goes both ways. They can't see your red ass hair either.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to see red stains. So it's kind of it goes both ways.
Yeah.
On that.
I mean, we haven't really done the testing on it, but me and I'm pretty sure you're convinced as much as I am that Chucky's scratch marks are different.
I'm not sold on them being a different color. I was actually gonna do that tomorrow. I was
Hmm.
gonna pull up take screenshots and like actually compare with like in Procreate and stuff and take a actual look at it.
Well,
Or if it's just the angle of them or something.
I think it's just the angle because of how the camera is. Because I swear I lose more people because I'm following scratch marks with Chucky than any other killer.
We played nothing but so I did homework last night. I was purposely playing and focusing on maps, which caused me to lose a lot. I probably lost more last night than I have in months.
Hmm.
Just trying to focus on like, okay, is this like a good loop? Like, what are my options here? And I had lost so many people on scratch marks, and I was paying attention because I knew it'd come up, and I was like, yeah, like I never lose people with scratch marks when I'm playing any other killer. at all. But Chucky, I will just randomly like run and like they just stop and I'm like, what the fuck happened? Where are they? I can't find them. And yeah, like constantly losing people.
It's a very strange phenomenon. I'm pretty sure it's just because of how the camera is. I'm curious
Yeah.
if I want to try putting Predator on and see if that helps.
Interesting. I
Um,
wonder. So like it's got a glow, right? So I'm wondering if it's the lighting effect. You know what's weird too is even if we find it, we can't even guarantee that's what the problem was previously because we're in a new engine. So
mhm.
scratch marks glow is being processed differently now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll
Yeah.
definitely look into it. I still need to do a video on I need to test out Chucky's laugh because I don't know what the distance is.
Mm.
I'm very curious about that. So here's the one I've been alluding to the entire video. Eerie of Crows. Anyone who's been in my streams, link below, by the way. Um, I have made the claim that I think Eerie of Crows is Chucky's best map.
I don't think it's a bad map. I think he actually handles it way better than other killers. But man, there's some loops I really not even loops. I just hate it's the collision again. It's kind of like the desks and chairs. The rock formations aren't even. So like he just gets caught in weird places. So like chuck sliding on stuff just is really painful on a lot of loops. But the main building really isn't all that strong. It's got that one god palette that you can deal with pretty easily. It's
So,
yeah.
so the thing with me with Eerie, and the reason why I like this map so much, and it's something I've kind of been alluding to with a lot of these maps, I think it has the best line of sight blockers in the game for him. There is so many random like tombstones or monuments or whatever you want to call them that
Yeah, the
you can,
mausoleums and all that shit.
yeah, you can sneak up on people so easy on this map. The one,
You
the
can.
On top of that, the way the pallets are set up, there's none of them, in my opinion, that like lead into each other that you can't just keep scampering through to catch up to somebody.
I'm trying to think.
Because a lot of
I haven't
them,
played this map with a scamper before, so
so a lot of them, it's like it's a pallet in between like two mausoleums, and it's a long wall. So if they stay at the loop, you
yeah,
can usually slice and dice them. If they leave the loop to the next one, it's basically the same setup like 3 times in a row.
yeah.
So you can just keep scampering until you force the hit. The one problem I have with this map is I don't know how to explain which corner it is. It's the corner with the ditch, like on the left of main
Oh,
building.
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But I just ignore that part. I just never go over there. That is how
I
I usually play this map.
Eerie of Crows just sounds like your version of Dead Dog. I think it just fits your playstyle really well.
That's why I was kind of alluding to it. Now I do understand a lot of people don't like this map in general, not just on him, but most people.
I
But
think you're right though. Like hearing it from your perspective, you have a lot of good points on why it is actually not bad. And I'm trying to think of things that are like really strong against Chuck there. And I can't really think of one, right? Because like the good windows, you can break the doors, you're fine. The god palette on the upper level and the main is not that bad. The shack is in the corner, but it's not a bad shack.
there's two things on this map that f him in my opinion, or three things: the ditch, the pallets or the pallet loop right outside the main building window, the one that's like a crappy little, like there's like a set of stairs that lead up to it. It's like a very short stairs.
Oh, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
one he can't really play, especially if he plays it on the wrong side, because then they just go into main building. Um,
Yeah.
and if they go there's another corner of the map. It's a TL wall with a pallet. Um, Other than those three things, you can basically play this map almost perfectly.
Yeah,
As long as you ignore the corner that I talked about with the ditch.
I think probably why so many people hate this is the Sabo squad favored map. So 9 times out of 10 when you're here, it's against like some Sabo squad or something, and that's probably why it feels painful every time. But thinking about it logically, there's not that many loops here that really hurt as Chuck.
Hmm.
Um,
Even
so yeah,
the
I could see that.
the god loop or the god palette at the top of main building, not the one inside the building, but the one on the balcony. You don't just what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
that
know which
one
one.
you can chuck spot it.
Yeah, the only time you ever run into a problem with Chuck spotting is when you get the patient survivor that knows and they just sit there at the pallet and wait.
Yeah, but the thing with that one is if they sit there at the pallet and wait, you can just scamper the pallet and catch it with slice and dice. because it's
Yeah,
such
that's
a
what I'm
long.
saying.
Yeah, it's such a long wall.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't think there's a single pallet all that much. There's one jungle gym that spawns like it's kind of near the shack, and it has one configuration that really sucks because it's really twisty.
Hmm.
And that's the only one I'd say that's a problem because the pallet's on one end, you have a window, and it's not super close. So usually, even if you scamper the pallet, I imagine they'd make the window still, and you'd be in a bad spot. You can't slice and dice it at all, and that's really the only tile I'd say that I think is a huge problem. Besides the
Yeah.
random collision issues with like the rock formations and the bushes that just had to have collision for some reason. That really annoys the fuck out of me.
um, but
Um,
but yeah, I think bottom of A is a good spot. Once again, like I think it's his best map, but I understand why most people don't agree with me. So I will put it at
honestly,
bottom of A.
I mean, okay. I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, it sounds like it's better than Hawkins, right? Because Hawkins has the laboratory room that you can't really play. That Eerie doesn't even have a room like that you can't play. So I'd put it above Hawkins. I'm trying to think if Yamamoka has something. No, I think
Um,
right there's good. I'd put it around Yamamoka the way you described it because like I think the gameplay loops are more or less the same. The collision's a little worse on Eerie, I'd say.
yeah, and once again,
But
like I said it before, the big thing with this map for me is just there's so much line of sight blockers. There's
yeah,
so many line of sight blockers. I actually think most stealth killers do good on Eerie, and they just don't realize it.
I don't like it as Ghostface though because you just get one that goes like to main balcony or something, or they'll
Hmm.
follow you around, and that Ghostface I hate on this map. But I might just have to retry it. I'm
Yeah.
curious now.
Um, the other Yamaoka estate, family residence.
Um,
Uh,
I don't love this one. The house, the main house sucks. The rest of the map,
it's fine.
not a problem. It's got one 4-lane that can spawn, so of course we talked about how that sucks. But that main house, like, I don't feel like there's anything special I can ever do there.
Yeah, I'd put it. I'd put it bottom of B because the main building is pretty bad, and a lot of the loops like he can play just fine. The only loops he really suffers on, and this is also on the other Yamaoka that we didn't really bring up, was the gazebo loops.
Yeah, you have to. You usually just have to end up forcing a pallet break at them, and then they're fine, and they're pretty much gone.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, if you don't play it perfectly, like they pretty much get the advantage there, and you can lose a
Yeah,
lot of time doing that.
the one upside is on the other map. It's like the gazebos, like the ones I can think of, are off in the corner, so they're not the best spots.
Hmm.
But yeah, but here it's like right next to main, so it can
Yeah,
kind of hurt.
it's also a decently sized map, but once again, I don't
Yeah.
think it's the biggest deal for Chucky, with one exception, which we're about to get to. Toba Landing. So remember how I said Eerie was good because of all the line of sight blockers?
Uh huh.
Yeah, Toba for some reason isn't good even with all the line of sight blockers. I
I
I did the 50 games of Chucky with no add-ons, no perks. This was the only map I consistently never got a kill on.
This for a moment in time was my favorite map with Chucky because you could slice and dice off the staircase
Hmm.
leading into main, and you could get on the rock formations and then slice and dice to over a lot of other loops. They took it out a patch ago. Um, but I still think main here is like super easy for Chucky. He handles main building like no problem. If you go up the like not the main staircase, but like the one leading all the way up to the top of the ship,
Yeah, I
if
got
they
you.
vault, you just you fake the dash, they vault it, you actually just walk downstairs, you catch them with your own dash before they even land. If they don't, I mean, you can play a lot on either side because they have two exits, right? They either drop over the vault or they go down onto the main staircase.
I,
Chucky has both options covered.
I think the main building's fine. I think it's the rest of the map I just don't like.
Yeah, like, and again, you're running into my problem of I hate the collision on this map. Anything with like the rock formations just does not work well with him. Rock formations, they're not straight, so he gets caught in weird things, hits weird walls, can't slide against them. The foliage can sometimes make it hard to see shit, including scratch marks.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I put it in C right
Yeah,
there. That was perfect.
I'd put it right above RPD because RPD has all these other maps have other problems that I think Toba doesn't run into, and maybe I just suck at Toba. Maybe that's why I don't win that much on it. So
I
maybe.
think Toba has so much color and different things going on that it's just yeah, I think it throws everybody
Well,
off.
the other thing with Toba, and this is kind of Larry's as well. I use sound a lot to track. I
And the
get
fucking bushes make
I
sounds, and
get
then there's critters. It's so annoying.
I get so much shit in my Discord and when I'm talking to other people about this because they're like, because I'll bring up sound from like mirror shards and like that's why I don't think it's a good add-on and it actually hurts you. And they're like, well, you shouldn't be using sound that much. It's like half
What?
the game.
Yeah, like no kidding. Like that's a huge deal. Like holy crap. Why was Iron Will so strong then? Like if sound's not that big, like when it was actually a good
Well,
perk.
no.
Like
People aren't telling me sound isn't important. People are telling me that I use sound too much.
that's not a thing.
Um, because that's how chuck spots work for me a lot of the times. Yeah, I'm looking at
Well,
them,
yeah, because
but I can also hear them and know if they're not moving.
well, and there's like those few chuck spots where like you just have to hide the right stain, but you can't exactly see them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go based off sound sometimes. That's silly to me. I tell Chad all the time, if you could give me a beep or something that told me I was bumping into a wall or when I was near a pallet or window to like let me know that stuff, I could almost play the game blind. If
Yeah,
I had an idea of where the walls were and the obstacles, I wouldn't need to look to follow a survivor. That's why I think flashlight blinding a killer in most scenarios really doesn't do anything for you unless they're carrying a survivor. 9 times out of 10, you watch my streams, I'll get blinded and I'll still usually hit them while still blinded or still follow behind them just fine.
yeah. You can just hear them running. It's
Yeah.
the only time it ever messes with me is that they run into me sometimes, but even then, it's not always.
That's actually dependent on your FOV. Did you know that?
What?
So Dead by Daylight doesn't have a real FOV slider. They change the placement of your camera. So like if you're playing Spirit, right, you're using all sound. If you do the FOV louder, all it does is it moves the camera back behind your head. So a survivor in front of you or behind you will sound like they're in front of you, even though they're behind
Oh,
you. So you, when you change your FOV, you need to adjust your sound, or how you perceive your sound, because it completely changes where your camera's basing it off of. And if you max your FOV out, it's actually putting the camera behind your character's placement
that might
just slightly.
that might be why it doesn't affect me when I play Chucky at all because the FOV
Yeah,
doesn't affect it. That's interesting.
Yeah, I found out when I was having a hard time tracking with sound with Xeno and stuff, and I was starting to miss a lot of hits. And it was right after they launched the FOV change. But when I swapped to Chucky, it wasn't that big a deal.
Mm,
And then when I looked through stuff, yeah, they don't have a real FOV slider. They just change where the camera's pointing from.
mm.
So yeah, the sound is weird.
But yeah, Toba, I think it's visual clutter, it's sound clutter. It's just there's a lot of random collision. I just once again
Yeah, this,
the main building saves this map for Chucky. That's it.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
And a lot of the loops he can still play. They're just frustrating.
Yeah.
Uh, Speaking of that, Nostromo.
I personally hate Nostromo. I don't think it's a bad map, but you have this is rock loops incarnate, and I can't stand a lot of the sliding here. But I don't think it's bad.
I
The main building's fine.
I put it right at the bottom of A.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of line of sight blockers. The main building's fine. It's the best shack in the game for Chucky.
Yeah.
Even though people don't really go to it, but it's still there. You can chuck spot a lot of the loops. You can scamper a lot of the pallets. There's not really any. There are filler loops on this map, but a lot of them he can actually play because they're just long enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
there's
I
not
think it's a good placement.
Yeah, there's not really a bad thing about this map for Chucky. Even things like the window outside that jumps outside of the ship. Um
Oh yeah, he doesn't give a shit about
he
that.
doesn't care about that. Like even you don't even have to do what most killers do and go out the other side. Like you can just drop slice and dice hit.
Yep.
Um
Yeah.
they can't make it to the stairs in time. There's not a lot of
The
elevation that
circle
messes you up. Yeah.
the little circle loop, you don't even have to care about the pallet. You don't even have to scamper. You can slice and dice. Time your slice and dice right. They drop it, you continue under it, and you just continue around the bend.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad map.
I don't think Nostromo is a bad map at all for him. I know some people don't really like this map. This Nostromo is one of those maps that I feel like is one of the few personal preference ones where I can interview 100 people and 50 of them will say they like it and 50 will say they hate
I think it's just boring. Like, it's just one of the more boring maps. Like, and I hate saying that because I love Xeno.
it.
Xeno's my second, right? I fucking love the Alien series. And it's got a beautiful skybox, but goddamn, is this one of the most boring maps? There's nothing interesting besides the secret room that we stopped talking about a week after it released.
Yeah, I wish the secret room like opened up a new loop or something.
Dude, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
You know
Even
what?
if it opened like another window or something for the survivors to use, so it changed the map a little bit, I'd be
Hmm.
cool with that.
Yeah. Well, Nostromo is also the first map that had what do I call it? Interactability. Um,
Yeah. I hope they
with
continue it. It's cool as hell.
not just that with the door, but there's also the
Jonesy the cat.
no, Jonesy, and then there's also the steam pipes.
Oh yeah, and then you got the face hugger jump scare. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of cool stuff in this map.
Well, the steam pipes is something in particular I hope they do for other maps. Like maybe like on like a certain like imagine Hawkins, but the survivors could open and close the doors.
That'd be cool. Or like Midwich and on a certain loop, like a pile of chairs falls down. You have to like, and they go away after they stun you one time or something. They
Yeah.
could do a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish those pipes came into play more. I think I've been stunned by them once or twice, and it was on purpose because it was my better option.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well, because
yeah,
they have to turn them on, don't they?
I don't think so. I think if you run the first time you run through it, I think it triggers
Mm.
if you're in chase, and then it'll go.
Um,
I've activated it a few times as survivor, but I've never had to hit a button.
I think there's a button beside it that activates it after that first time.
Somebody might. Yeah, there might be.
Uh, Shelter Woods. These are the other two Macmillan ones, and these are interesting. Shelter Woods, I think, is like fine.
Yeah, the main building is really easy to deal with. None of the loops are bad.
Even the
Yeah, as I'd say, this is like you put it perfectly because like the main one the one bad loop everybody hates is the one god pallet under the main building. Like it's like by all the mannequins.
hmm
That pallet can kind of suck, but Chucky kind of eats at that anyways. And then the upper room area, they vault that window, and then you have to either follow behind them or you drop like on the by the staircase and then try to chase after him. And Chucky just slice and dices and gets him either way.
Yeah, and then there's like the tent loops. You can just scamper through the window and just slice and dice them immediately because of how long they are.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think it's totally fine.
There's a
It's not like great. It's just not. There's nothing bad about it for him.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of line of sight blockers. The map isn't too terribly big. Um, honestly, the biggest problem he has on this map, in my opinion, is the tree in the middle. Honestly,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the big wide ass tree.
if people just fucking run around that tree, he's not catching you for a minute.
You can kind of slide it with a slice and dice, but not the full way through. So yeah, it's a
uh,
little annoying. But yeah, I'd agree with you there.
I was doing community night last night, and I was playing Chucky, and someone ran me around like it was a really like small loop on it was an Autohaven map, but uh and I was stuck looping them just because I couldn't slice and dice the loop. So I just had to like kind of like force it, and they could see me, so I can't mind game it. I was stuck chasing them around that loop until I got Bloodlust 2. It's
Look.
it's just yeah. I've said this
Ugh.
before. Like those are just Chucky's worst maps or worst loops.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
agree.
Suffocation Pit. So I think it's above Groaning Storehouse as far as the Macmillans. Actually, you know what? I'd probably put it above Shelter. No, because that main building is so bad on Suffolk Pit.
Yeah.
And plus, it runs into the same problem where if you don't get the 3 gen properly,
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it. Like I'm placing it against the other maps we put it with, and I think you put it perfectly.
it's just. And then a lot of the loops are filler loops, but not
Yeah.
every single
Which
one. And then the middle of the map is all the time. You know what? I'm going to take that back. I'm putting it lower. I think it's like right there with Groaning Storehouse because it has the same problems Groaning Storehouse does, but
yeah, no, you're not
probably
wrong.
worse. Um, the last but not least are all the Autohaven maps. Have we done an Autohaven one yet? I don't think we have.
No.
Wretched Shop. We did Wretched Shop, which is probably the best one of them, which probably alludes to where every single one of these is going. Um, I'm gonna start with the worst one, which in my opinion is Autohaven Wreckers Gas Haven.
Yeah, I hate that main building,
So
especially without a scamper. That thing hurts.
this main build, even with Scamper, this main building sucks.
Yeah.
Even if you break the wall, unless that gen is done and the garage opens, it's not an infinite. I want people to understand I'm not calling it an infinite. It is basically an infinite if they play it perfectly. there is not much you can do. You can try to slice and dice after the scamper through the window, and they'll just hit the corner and you'll miss them. You can try to hold the slice and dice until the long wall, but by the time you get there after scampering through the window, they're already around the next corner, and it just keeps going through that loop. Even if you break the wall, it doesn't really matter. The loop is so long, you don't have time. Um, the main building on this map alone makes it bad, but that's not the only thing. Uh, a lot of the loops, while good for chuck spots and whatnot, lead into each other, and Chucky can't do too much against that because they also all have windows.
Yeah.
The shack is fine, but it's out of the way from a lot of things. The map isn't too big, but it's also deceptively big.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
I I don't like this map at all.
I think the best thing this map has going for it is the car loops are kind of good for him, but most people don't run them, so it's not.
The other part with like the car loops is they're not actually good line of sight blockers because you can see the footfalls between them if the survivor knows how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah, because any gap will do it.
Yeah. So that kind of hurts a little bit too. Yeah, I think right there's perfect.
I think yeah, bottom of C is it's not unplayable. It's just like if as long as you avoid the main building, you're fine. It's just that main building
Yeah.
is a very central part of this map, and it just kills it for him. The uh, Blood Lodge and Azeroth's resting place are very hard to differentiate because they are very similar.
They are
Um,
very similar.
Blood Lodge has the advantage of the main building isn't too bad as long as you break the wall, which you could argue makes it actually bad. I actually despise Blood Lodge though, and Azeroth's resting place and Wrecker's Yard because all of them have the same problem, and it's kind of the opposite of Gas Haven. There are so many filler loops on all three of these maps, just everywhere. Short filler loops, and I will die on this hill and keep saying it. Chucky cannot do anything on filler loops.
You could do some mind gaming, but that's really your best bet. You're not going to be able to rely on scamper, and you can't do a slice and dice hug because the loops are too short unless you're like really manipulating your slice and dice angles.
I mean, I think I'd put Blood Lodge in D, Azerov's in actually, I'd put Azerov's in C because Azerov's also has another problem that we haven't really mentioned on any of these with size. If you spawn on Azeroth and try to run across the map to the farthest gen to check it, by the time you get over there, I can promise you the gen is done.
Yeah,
Which well, I'll talk about this in the perk video when I get to it. But I think corrupt intervention is almost a requirement on Chucky if you want to win.
really.
Just for that reason alone.
Oh, do you mean just on this map?
Well, on this map, on a few others as well, but mostly this map. Just because on the bigger maps, like if they all spawn on that first gen and just start doing it, by the time you get over to it, it's either almost done or done.
Damn. I
Um,
don't see that's hard for me to estimate. I've been playing Chucky without a single gen regression perk
mhm.
for fu- a while and now. And I mean, I have an end game build, right? Like I use TV and No
Well,
Way Out, but most of my games end at one or two gens.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's impossible to lose or
Oh, I
win
got you.
with it. I
Okay.
just think it makes it helps the
It
process a
helps.
lot.
Yeah. Any slow start killer, yeah, corrupt's gonna be useful. Okay, I get what you're saying. I took what you said and blew
Like,
it up.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
like you have to run it
Yeah,
if
like it
you
was a
want.
must run
No,
perk, and I
no,
was
no,
like,
no, no,
whoa,
no.
I don't know about that.
Like if your goal is to 4K every match, I do think you have to. But if your goal is just to win, like every now and again, and just play the match out normally, yeah, I don't think corrupt is necessary. But I think Chucky in particular, it's very, very good on.
Well,
Um,
yeah, it's the same reason I actually like lethal is a pet perk of mine because he has that slow start. So knowing where they're at instead of wasting your time going in the wrong direction is a huge deal.
oh
Not
yeah,
to
yeah,
mention
yeah,
usually you run rat poison, so it pairs up. But yeah,
yeah.
I get what you mean.
Well,
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
either lethal or corrupt, they both basically do the same job, just differently, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um, Plus, I said that people say corrupt doesn't work because once you down somebody, it's
Survivor's
down.
just yeah.
But
At that point, it already did its purpose.
it did its job, and also run grim embrace, and it
Yeah.
basically just helps out a little bit. Anyways,
Yeah.
Wrecker's Yard, I think of the three is probably the better one. I still don't like it very much, so I'm probably gonna put it bottom of C. It has basically the same problems.
I'd agree with you there.
Um, so that's basically it.
It doesn't have the newest map. It doesn't have unknowns map.
Oh, Greenville.
Yeah, we didn't go over that
Um,
one.
I can't really add it, but if I was to say, probably top of B. I don't think Greenville is that bad.
See, I was curious because you really, really hate the filler loops, and I feel like that one's cluttered with filler.
Well, the filler.
But I don't think it's that bad though, because all the filler is trash.
Well, and then two of the big filler loops are the double pallet ones, which are long walls.
They took those out.
They took the double pallets out?
Yeah, they don't spawn right now. Ever since the last update, we don't have the double pallets anymore.
Oh, never mind then. Well, I was just gonna say the reason why I like those in Chucky is because if they drop both pallets, it's not a filler loop anymore.
Yeah, I miss them. I hope they bring them back. I have no I don't know if that meant that the double pallets were a glitch, but I loved that loop design.
Yeah, that was great because it gives a survivor choice on how they want to set the loop up.
Yeah, I thought they were great, but they don't spawn anymore.
Um, yeah, because like I just alluded to, it's like if they drop one pallet, it's terrible for Chucky, but if they drop both, it's good for him.
Yeah.
And then I think it's actually the case for a lot of killers. Is it depends on which one of those pallets they drop and how many of them they do.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's cool. It's a lot of player choice. I really love it.
yeah, I wish. Yeah,
I th-
that's how I kind of want them to make loops more.
so I did some homework. I watched some Japanese tier lists, and
Hmm.
I'm curious because they placed the maps for Chucky. They placed the killers, and then they placed their best maps.
Okay,
Um, I want you to try and guess real quick where they placed Chucky in the Japanese tier list, their community.
what the killer himself?
Hit the killer himself, and then the map. I'll have you guess that afterwards.
I'm gonna say mid B for the killer himself, and for the map, I'm gonna say well his best map.
Yeah, his best map.
Um, Gideon's.
No, on both counts, but I'll tell you because it's wild, and I'm still trying to understand how they came to this placement. So I'm gonna start from the bottom in their killers. I'm gonna go from the bottom up
Okay.
because he's not that far from the bottom. They have S S S A B C D, right? He's in the bottom of C. I will give you that. It goes
What?
Doctor at the bottom, Freddy, which I think is funny. Everywhere, everybody agrees Freddy's bad. Doctor, then Freddy, then Hag. This one's surprising now. Then Demogorgon,
Okay.
and then Pig, then Chucky, and then Trapper. They have him below Trapper.
They have Chucky below Trapper.
Yes. And Trapper is above Demogorgon, Hag, Pig, Doctor.
What is Chucky's
I
best map?
Toba Landing.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, it's a weird. Okay, yeah, like I want to work on a video about this with you. I think in the future, maybe we can go over their tier lists and try to understand the thinking because their tier lists are crazy.
Don't they have like
They
Legion and S tier?
no. Their Legion. He is. Where is he at? He's high C. He's right under Michael Myers. Michael Myers is at the top of C.
Hold up a second. They have Legion under Michael
I'll tell you who they have under Myers because we already went up to Trapper, right? After Trapper, it goes Leatherface, Nemesis, then Ghostface, then Huntress, and then Legion, and then Michael Myers.
Who is S tier?
SF. It's funny because we all agree on this top two, right? So going from the top, it goes Nurse, then Blight, then Pinhead.
Okay.
I mean, their top's not bad, right? Like I
Okay.
see, I can understand Billy or Pinhead. I mean, then it goes Billy, Spirit, like we all know. Then Oni, Wesker, Skull Merchant, and then they got Sadako, Trickster, Wraith to end A tier.
That is so like the top I get. The very bottom I don't like.
Yeah, the bottom of A is wild. And then like, yeah, they got some weird placements.
That's so
Twins is barely above Michael Myers. She's the next one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I wanna. Maybe we can talk about it later. I don't want to interrupt this
I got you.
this recording, but this would be fun to go over together too.
Yeah. So with the tier list currently, aside from Greenville, which isn't on here, but do we really think there's only one S tier map for Chucky?
I would put Eerie of Crows up there, right? We both have our S's, and I think you had just as many good reasons. In fact, my map, I'd put Eerie above Dead Dog, right? Because I actively ignore a good portion of the map. Where on Eerie, you don't really do that.
Yeah, like, there's that one
Um,
corner, but it's mostly not even the whole corner. It's the ditch.
yeah, I might push Gideon up to S, just to like top A, bottom S. Like either way, I think that's a pretty good list.
Yeah, and I think moving these
Yeah,
up works too. It's
yeah,
like a lot of the Macmillan maps aren't even that. I don't even think Ormond is like as bad as we were making it out to be. Swamp, I think every other one belongs
yeah,
in
yeah.
C.
Swamp is pretty bad. Swamp is Ormond. I might still put in C because Ormond the size still hurts you. Macmillan Estate, nothing actively hurts you. I think Ormond's the start. It's not that bad, but it's the first map that actively has something going against you, where the rest above it don't really have that.
Yeah, I think this is a good list, and I can't wait for people to be mad about the.
I'm very curious. I wouldn't put Erie that high, but I can't argue with your arguments. I'm gonna be the next like 20 times I go to Erie, I'm gonna be sitting there being like, is he right? And I'm gonna be analyzing every loop.
I
I'm very
think
curious to see it from your point of
once
view
again,
now.
I think it's the same situation as Gideon's. I think it's a map people don't like playing on, but they actually do better on it than they think they do.
Yeah, Gideon's. I love Gideon's. I love Gideon's.
It's like the opposite of Midwich, right? People do good
Hmm.
on Midwich, but people like I just don't like playing on it.
Yeah, Midwich is boring.
Which is why we put it in A, because it is still a good map. It's just not fun. But
No,
it's not a fun tier list, unfortunately. Um,
no.
but in any case, you guys can disagree in the comments all you want. I will definitely be reading them and fearing for my life. In any case, I love y'all. Have a good one, and yeah, bye.
Bye.